Have you ever watched a man walk into the lion's den and make the lions applaud him? On the 19th of November 2005 at the Santiago Bernabéu, the home of Real Madrid, that is exactly what happened. And the man who did it was wearing a Barcelona shirt, a stadium where opposing players go to be booed, humiliated and broken, a stadium where the crowd has reduced grown men to tears and ended careers with its cruelty, a place where the noise alone can make your legs feel heavy and your mind go completely blank. But on this particular night, something happened that had never happened before and has barely happened since. A Barcelona player, Barcelona's number 10, received a standing ovation from 67,000 Real Madrid fans. This was the night Ronaldinho didn't just beat Real Madrid. He made them love him.
Let's talk about Ronaldinho, but what he bring on the pitch. Thank you.
You have to understand what this game meant. This wasn't just any El Clásico. This was the peak of one of the greatest individual seasons any footballer had ever produced. Ronaldinho had already won the Ballon d'Or the year before, but in 2005, he was operating on a completely different planet. He wasn't just the best player in the world, he was the most joyful, the most electric, the most terrifying player anyone had ever seen with a ball at their feet. Every time he touched it, something was about to happen. You just didn't know what. And that unpredictability was the most dangerous weapon in football. Defenders couldn't prepare for him because there was no pattern to prepare for. He improvised everything. He played on instinct, and his instincts were from another dimension entirely. Coaches tried to come up with plans to stop him. None of them worked. You cannot make a plan for chaos. You can only hope it doesn't come to your stadium. And on this night, it did. Barcelona under Frank Rijkaard had been building something special. They had won La Liga the previous season, ending a 6-year drought, and they were now the dominant force in Estonia and Upstar. Spanish football, the squad was full of quality. Xavi, Iniesta, Deco, Eto'o, Puyol, Valdez. But Ronaldinho was the heartbeat of all of it. He was the one who made the whole machine sing. Without him, Barcelona were a very good team. With him, they were something else entirely. But Real Madrid were not just going to hand over their kingdom without a fight. Los Blancos had their own stars: Zidane, Raúl, Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos. This was still a team full of Galacticos. This was still the Bernabéu. And the Bernabéu does not bow to anyone. It never has. It never will. That is the deal you make when you walk through those gates. Going into the game, Barcelona were top of the table. Real Madrid were desperate. They needed a win not just for the points, but for their pride. The atmosphere inside the stadium that night was electric in the way only a Clásico can be. 67,000 people packed in, most of them hoping to see their team dismantle the Catalans and restore order to us. Spanish football, the noise was deafening, the tension was suffocating. And somewhere in the visiting dressing room, Ronaldinho was probably already smiling, because that is who he was. The bigger the stage, the more relaxed he became. The more pressure there was, the more he seemed to enjoy himself. He was built for exactly this kind of night. The Bernabéu was not a place that scared him. It was a stage that excited him. From the very first whistle, Ronaldinho was different. He was everywhere, dropping deep to collect the ball, spinning past players like they were standing still, threading passes through gaps that didn't look like they existed. Real Madrid's defenders were chasing shadows. Every time they thought they had him, he was already gone. The smile never left his face. That was the thing about Ronaldinho. He played like a man who genuinely could not believe how much fun he was having. And that joy was contagious, even for the people watching him destroy their team. The Bernabéu crowd was restless. They could feel it. Something was wrong. Their players couldn't get near him. And when a crowd that loud goes quiet, you know something serious is happening on the pitch. Then came the first goal. In the 34th minute, Ronaldinho picked up the ball on the left side of the penalty area. He had 2 defenders in front of him and a goalkeeper behind them. Any other player takes a touch, looks for a teammate, plays it safe. Not Ronaldinho. He shifted the ball onto his right foot and curled it into the top corner with the kind of facial precision that made it look like he had done it 1,000 times in training. Casillas didn't move. He just watched it go in. 1-0 Barcelona. The Bernabéu went quiet, not the angry quiet of a crowd that is frustrated, the stunned quiet of a crowd that has just witnessed something they weren't prepared for, the kind of silence that only genius can produce. But Ronaldinho wasn't done, not even close. Barcelona continued to control the game in the second half, and Real Madrid were beginning to look like a team that had no answer for what they were facing. Their shape was being pulled apart, their confidence was visibly draining. The Galacticos, for all their individual brilliance, looked ordinary. And then, in the 59th minute, it happened. The moment that would be replayed forever. Larsson played the ball into Ronaldinho on the edge of the box. He took one touch to control it, then with his second touch he went past one defender. With his third touch he went past another, and then, with the outside of his right boot, he bent the ball around Casillas and into the far corner of the net. It was not a goal. It was a painting. It was the kind of thing you see and immediately look around to check if other people saw what you just saw. 2-0 Barcelona. And then it happened. The Bernabéu stood up. 67,000 Real Madrid fans, people who had come to this stadium to cheer against this man, rose to their feet and gave him a standing ovation. They clapped, they cheered, some of them even chanted his name. In the Bernabéu, in the home of Real Madrid, for a Barcelona player. It was one of the most surreal and beautiful moments in the history of football. You see, there is something about genius that transcends rivalry. Real Madrid fans are among the most passionate and knowledgeable football supporters in the world. They have watched the greatest players to ever live perform on that pitch. Di Stefano, Puskas, Zidane. They know what greatness looks like. And on that night, even though it was killing them, even though every part of them wanted to look away, they could not deny what they were seeing. Ronaldinho was not just beating their team, he was giving them a gift. He was showing them something they would tell their grandchildren about, and they were wise enough to recognize it in the moment, which is rarer than people think. Ronaldinho himself was visibly moved. He raised both hands to the crowd, acknowledging the applause with that enormous smile of his. His teammates were stunned. His opponents were stunned. Even the commentators struggled to find words. Because what do you say when the enemy becomes the hero? When the away player becomes the protagonist of a story the home fans will never forget? There are moments in sport that go beyond the result. Beyond the table, beyond the rivalry. This was one of those moments, and everyone inside that stadium knew it in real time. That is the rarest thing of all. Usually we only recognize the truly great moments in hindsight. This one, everyone felt immediately. No debate, no waiting, just the collective understanding that something historic had just taken place. Barcelona won the game 2-0. It was a statement victory. It effectively announced to the rest of Spain and the rest of Europe that this Barcelona team, with this Ronaldinho at its heart, was something truly special. They would go on to win La Liga that season and the Champions League as well, with Ronaldinho at the centre of everything. But for many people, this night at the Bernabéu was the moment the legend was truly cemented. Not the trophies, not the Ballon d'Or. This night, this stadium, this standing ovation from the people who were supposed to hate him most. Because here is the thing about that applause. It wasn't just appreciation, it was a confession. 67,000 people who had every reason to hate what they were watching admitted, in the most public way possible, that they were in the presence of something greater than rivalry. Greater than football. They were watching art. And you cannot boo art. You cannot sit down when art is happening in front of you, even if the artist is wearing the wrong colours. Ronaldinho never quite reached those heights again. Injuries, lifestyle changes, the arrival of a certain teenager from Barcelona's own academy. Things shifted. But nobody who was in the Bernabéu that night, or who watched it on television, or who has seen the footage since, will ever forget what he did. He walked into the most hostile stadium in world football, and he didn't just survive. He performed, he danced, he made 67,000 enemies stand up and clap for him. And he did it all with a smile on his face, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Because, for him, it was. That is not just a football story. That is a story about what happens when a human being is so completely and utterly themselves that even the people who are supposed to be against them cannot help but celebrate them. Ronaldinho on that night was the freest player who ever lived. And the Bernabéu, for just a few minutes, forgot to be his enemy. Is this the greatest individual performance in El Clásico history? Drop it in the comments below. But if you think that was a special moment in football, wait until you see the story of the game that changed the rules of the sport forever. Go check out that video.